I've been a clinical psychologist for coming up to 20 years, and as part of that I've worked with many people who face depression and a range of other mental health issues. But in addition to my work, I've also seen many friends who are part of church struggling with their own mental health. And the coming together of my working world and my church life has been something that I've been particularly interested in. In recent years, there have been numerous campaigns nationally which have sought to raise awareness around mental health, approaches to address and reduce the stigma that is associated with talking about your struggles in these areas, in particular for men, high-profile public figures and celebrities who've talked about their own experience in a way that's hoped will encourage others to speak out and to receive help. And also in that time, there have been continued tragedies and stories of people that we know, whether famous or in our own social network, for whom this has all become too much, and we've lost them. And yet, I've so often found that the church in general can be oh so quiet on this topic. And the times when it is vocal, it can miss the mark. It can leave people somehow feeling worse about themselves, more hopeless, less able to speak out. The reminders to people that God loves them somehow doesn't cut it when they're in the depths of depression. The suggestion that maybe their depression is linked to some unresolved or unconfessed sin. The pointing out of how much they've got to live for. Although that might be true, it so often doesn't leave the person feeling that their experience has been heard, understood, and validated. I don't think it's just because working with human distress is my day job that I feel this is a key area for the church to get right. It's because I see a Jesus who is absolutely relevant when he was on earth. And I believe that the church should have a relevant offer and understanding to the challenges of our modern day world. And mental health is most definitely one of those dominant issues. As a worship leader, there aren't a wide range of songs on this area. And so I suggested to the songwriting group that I'm part of that one of our challenges should be mental health songs. Songs where we attempted to write into God's heartbeat for this particular experience. Put into words perhaps the desperate cry of those walking through those dark and difficult times. Or articulate in some way a message of acceptance, of compassion, of hope. Whatever we did between us would definitely enrich the song of the church in this area. And here's mine. It started with Psalm 88 verse 18, which also formed the title of a popular Mark Meynell book, When Darkness Seems My Closest Friend, which I know friends have found helpful. I started to recall conversations that I've had with people who I've seen for therapy, people who I've walked alongside as they've faced depression. And I tried to put into lyrical form some of their thoughts, some of their experiences, some of their feelings that they've shared. When I'd written the first draft, I shared it with a couple of close friends who'd had recent experiences of depression. I wanted to make sure that it felt authentic. Not everyone's experience is the same, but there were some significant chunks of the lyric that resonated with them. And so the song was born. I think sometimes in church we long for those happy endings. Someone shares a story about something that God is doing in their lives and we're waiting for the, and then I was healed and everything was fine again. But sometimes those happy endings aren't the reality, whether in this current moment or at any point. And so as much as I would have liked to, I felt the nudge not to resolve this song, musically or lyrically, to write it at the point where the person could do nothing more than simply call out to God, in the midst of all sorts of doubts about whether those cries were even being heard, knowing that this is all they can do, whether it feels like it's making a difference or not. I know some people who found the song in itself quite depressing, and I think I'm okay with that, because we perhaps just have to live with that for the 4.5 minutes or so that the song lasts. But maybe that helps us to remember that there are those for whom walking through this is a lot longer than 4.5 minutes. And maybe it will help us to stand with them, to hold on to hope for them, to cry out to God with them.